Well, if 5 million wage earners save $13 a year, this would mean 65 million saved out of our wages in 1 year at the rate of 25 cents per week. It would be painless. Today, brothers and sisters, don't you think we can do better than what we were asked to do 48 years ago? According to government statistics, there are a little over 16 million blacks employed at some level. Well, look what happens if we raise the economic bar and contribute the same nickel a day. The truth must be recognized by the black man.
Defending black women and black children and black babies and black men.
Greetings, listeners. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful, I bear witness that there is but one God. Welcome to the Black Agenda here on the Street 919 FM. I am Brother David Muhammad, and I'm going to be in studio with you up to 9 o'clock this morning. And in a short while from now, I will open up the telephone lines and take your calls on 342-0081 and 466-5391. You can send WhatsApp messages directly to me on 332-0214. And you can go to the Facebook page or the YouTube channel of the Street 919 FM and follow the program live in studio. So, beloved family, it looks like, beloved, it looks like we are just crossing the threshold of 500 murders in Trinidad and Tobago with 2 full months left to go. That has never happened before in this society. There have been 4 years where we've crossed 500, which of course were 2008, 2009, 2018, and 2019. Now, the 5th year to that is 2022. But we are ahead of all of those other years as far as quantity and time. And one of the biggest problems is that we still continue to look at this as a police problem. It is not. Or we look at it as a national security problem. It is not that. Or a problem with the courts, the law, legal matters. Neither. Or broken homes, dysfunctional families, and faulty parenting. Children are dropping out of school. No positive male role models or mentors. So they're going astray. Okay, we're getting warmer. But what it is a combination of all of those things. And the mistake that we're making is we're pigeonholing the problems, thinking that there's a single magic bullet solution to all of these problems. So the priest says, oh, everyone has to pray more and go to church more and be more spiritual. The economist says, well, we need to equally distribute the wealth of the society and close the gap between the rich and the poor and ensure that employment levels are high and that we also increase the minimum wage. The teacher will say the youth need more education, more qualifications. They have to get their passes, they have to learn. And then the politician will say, not the politician in power, but the politician who's in opposition until he gets back into power, will say the government needs to be more sensitive to the needs and concerns of the masses of the people. Now, all of them are right. But it is as if everyone who has an opinion is at ideological warfare with others who have an opinion, all with the same objective. So the two political parties are arguing against each other over the crime problem. The different religions, the Muslims, the Hindus, the Christians, they're arguing against each other over what the proper solution to the crime problem is. The economists who subscribe to different theories are debating against each other. And it's almost like everyone has turned their way or their attention, diverted away from the problem, and has focused on someone else who's proposing a solution and ignoring the victim. What about the prison system and recidivism and the fact that when our young black males are arrested and detained, placed in the prison, there's an environment within there, even if they go in innocent, that breeds criminals. So how could you ignore all of these things in exchange for arguing with others who are looking at the same things, trying to find a solution as well? No. This is the time period where unity is required. We have to come together, settle our differences ideologically, and establish think tanks and pool our ideas so that we can work together to solve these problems. But that immature, back and forth, small-minded, petty, ignorant, and arrogant politics that we have that's leading the way is not the solution. And the post-colonial educational system that is failing the masses and not really incorporating inspiration inside the content that is being taught, that has to be adjusted too. People have to stop believing in a mystery God up in the sky in the sweet by and by after we die, when we have nothing sound on the ground while we're still around. That kind of backward slavery spiritual teaching also has to be done away with. And then all of the stakeholders in law, in the justice system, in national security, the police, the teachers, the economists, the priests, the imams, the pundits, the community leaders, the father figures, the mentors, out there, all of them, all of us have to work together to help solve the problem instead of working against one another, which is simply and only adding to the problem. What are we involved in this for? What's our purpose? Is it a show? And there are some, it's as if it's a celebration, something to rejoice when the murder statistics go up, so we can say, aha, look, you see, under this government, it's these numbers, that numbers, those numbers, these figures, those statistics, and then under the other government is these statistics, that statistics. So it's like you want people to kill each other to rank up the statistics so that you have a better option of convincing the public that you're a better party to be elected. Meanwhile, the people who are getting killed, oh, they're being blamed, beloved. All of that contributes to the cesspool that this country is becoming. And I'll tell you, a major part of it is how this economy is being ran. A major part of it. You see, the way the economy is being ran is almost as if it's adding fuel to the other already existing fires. And I'm learning this even more slowly but surely on a daily basis. You see, this thing called racial harmony and unity among all the ethnic groups, that in Trinidad and Tobago works well for as long as you, the Africans, don't get too ambitious. It's a sad, sad thing. It's a very sad thing. There are those who say, yes, racial harmony, national unity, one love. Here, every creed and race finds an equal place for as long as the African does not want anything more than a small business like a parlor or a corner shop or a CPEP contract or a URP contract or a job to wash 30 cars or 40 trucks. And that is seen as huge ambition. You see, as long as we are in that frame of mind, which our political involvement promotes so heavily, you see, once we surrender ourselves to any grand scale economic success, there will be racial harmony. But you see, as soon as the African wants equality, there are those who see equality for the African as way too much, as much more than he deserves. You know, I've been making some observations. And maybe this is a bit premature for me to talk about it now, because I'll have to collect more of that data cumulatively to make the point that I want to make. But food prices are so expensive. And I'm looking at this is, listen, man. I'm looking at how the discounts are represented with certain items in the supermarket. So there's certain items that cost, let's say, $15, right? So a particular item costs $15. So that means $30 for two of them. But they wrap them together with a colorful piece of tape and say, not three for the price of two, or two for the price of one, or save 50%, or even 25%. They actually put this big colorful tape around it and said, buy two and save $2. Now, $2 saved out of $30 is not even 10%. But it's promoted as if it's like a 50% discount. Buy two and get one free and all of that. And the prices are so high. And if they take off $1 or $2, it's like you have to skip, hop, and dance in the middle of the supermarket aisle and rejoice over that and thank the 1%. Beloved, it's degrading. I heard an ad on the radio. And honestly, I had to check myself to figure out if that's really what I heard. Like I said, I need to collect more data on this because there's a lot of this out there. But I heard an ad that was basically talking about certain pharmaceuticals, right? Now, if you know about chemistry, not a lot, just a little bit about chemistry and science and so on, you know, a lot of medication that's available in the pharmacies, there's a generic version that basically uses the same chemical compounds or formulas, the same active ingredients, because when you buy a tablet under a certain name, the name of the tablet is a brand, but there's also a name of the active ingredient. So it's really the active ingredient that is now, these generic products, of course, many times are inferior quality to the originals. But many times as well, they're literally the same, depending on the item. I heard an ad on the radio last week. And I'll just give you the tagline that slapped me into reality. It's telling the consumers, beware. Beware of what? Beware of unusually low prices. Well, what are you saying? Wait, you want me as a consumer in the midst of an economy that's shaken, on edge, financial difficulties all around, and you put in an ad on the radio to tell people beware of unusually low prices? What about beware of high prices? What about that? Where's the consumer affairs representatives that are leading an aggressive campaign to the public, telling them if certain items are unjustifiably high, do not buy them? Where's the Consumer Affairs Division representation that's telling the public, grow your own food? At the Kwame Ture Center, in addition to the food that the Youth Academy is growing, we have another project right to the northern side of our building where we have established, listen, this is in urban Trinidad. In urban Trinidad, where there's by far more concrete than there is soil, we have constructed about 16 large grow boxes, which are about, and I'm estimating here because I don't have the exact dimensions, but we're looking at grow boxes that are about 7 feet long, about 3 feet wide, and about 2 feet high. And we are about, this is like the second agricultural project that we're doing. And we're about to grow even more tomatoes, lettuce, okras, melangen, corn, pak choy, peppers, pigeon peas, in the middle of concrete jungle, hard road urban area where there's asphalt and pitch and cement all around. But in the midst of that environment, we're growing food. And then when we have our special meals for the students, and we could sit with them and say, listen, see how much of this food here? Well, for the last one we had, we were able to tell them, well, some of our brothers grew some of this food. But for the next one, we'll be able to tell them, you all grew a lot of this food here that week. Even the eggs. We have our own brothers raising eggs. Now, where's the Consumer Affairs Division that's telling the people these things? You shouldn't have to listen to the Black Agenda every Saturday morning on 91.9 from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. to get these ideas. And those grow boxes, you can put them anywhere where there's direct sunlight and rain. Anywhere. But instead, I'm turning on the radio and hearing, beware of low prices. Listen, man, I'm wondering if there could be some kind of class action suit to ban an advertisement like that. They're banning all kinds of stuff on the radio these days. You should ban something like that. Telling people beware of low prices, but you're not telling them beware of high prices, not encouraging the people to grow their own food, not encouraging the people to buy in bulk, not encouraging the people to invest their money or support business within their communities. So again, though, coming back to the crime problem, this is one of the issues. There's so much in me that has to come out, especially from that Africa experience. Because it was so painful to go all the way over there to Africa, meet with certain CARICOM ambassadors, and for them to boast, oh yes, we have businesses from Trinidad now setting up in Africa. We have an initiative that's planned. And all the businesses are the 1%. And we become part of a black business team that's doing business between Trinidad and Tobago in Africa, and Barbados in Africa, and Jamaica in Africa. Shunned by the state. You know what? It's almost like black people who want to make serious breakthroughs in business. You know, they used to say long ago in Trinidad, and I mean, I can think of some really prominent African people who became landowners. They used to say, okay, you want to buy a piece of land? And I'm telling you just straight up, this is, I used to hear this a lot in the 70s and 80s, even in the 1990s, and you'll still even hear it today to a lesser extent. But in the 70s and 80s in particular, black man wants to own a piece of land. He wants to purchase a piece of land that's owned by an East Indian. In the 70s and 80s, you used to hear a lot that the African would ask his East Indian friend to go and approach the Indian landowner and say, I'd like to make this purchase, or I'm interested in getting some information. Because if the African were to go himself, then chances are he would not be given full access, or it'll be given a different price, or it won't be made available at all. It happened to me even when we were trying to put, this was about 20 years ago, we were inquiring on purchasing land, a building, and they heard the name Muhammad back then, like 98, 99. They heard the name Muhammad, oh yes, of course. And then they say it's African, well, maybe not. Right. So in the 70s and 80s, again, still today, but back then, you used to hear about it a lot more. African man wants to buy a building or buy some property or buy some land that's owned by an East Indian. He'd ask his East Indian friend to go and inquire on the deal. Well, it's almost like we're coming to a point where if a black man in this country wants to make a major breakthrough and to get a hearing from the government in certain departments, you have to ask your Syrian friend, can you go and talk to them for me and find out, listen, I want to invest, I want to go into business, but not on, I don't want to open a parlor, don't want to open some corner shop. I want to really make a breakthrough in business. But they're not going to listen to us, but we know they'll listen to you. So can you do that for me, please? it seems that that's how it is, even with Africa. But I want to thank so much those in government who have supported some of these initiatives so far. But it is almost like the black man who wants to make a breakthrough has to disguise himself, conceal his identity, get third-hand and fourth-hand contacts. But you see, there is a consciousness network. And that is why at one time certain finances of certain political parties, before they released their finance, they wanted to find out if you were involved in certain black organizations. Because if you are, we're not going to give you any money for your campaign. Do you support the Black Agenda Project? Do you support the Black Caucus back then? Do you support this individual or that individual? You do? Come back next month and we'll see. Or you don't? Here's a check for you. It's degrading, isn't it? Sad, isn't it? And this is all part of this great reset. Now, I've been speaking about this quite a bit. I don't think last week, of course, we had our beloved King Nana Asafo Boakye III, who has returned to Ghana. He was so in love with Trinidad and Tobago. Oh, man. And it was such a pleasure to have him. Last week, thank you all of those who came out to the Kwame Ture Center. We had a jam-packed to capacity, standing room only, conference room to hear our beloved King. And afterwards, at least 100 people took a photograph with him. We had him sit on the comfortable chair, and one by one, people just took a picture, move on, took a picture, move on. We had to open the other door of the conference. You take the picture. It was, and that took quite a while to do. But it was so beautiful. And everyone came out the photographs, I posted a couple on my Facebook page. But the photographs were, just something else. Something else. Real African royalty. So, let me say this morning, 10 o'clock, continue with the youth sessions for the George Padmore Boys Academy. You know what's ironic about this? The fact that we launched the George Padmore Boys Academy on May 28th, right? And then we had the first session, I think it was 2 weeks after, on June 11th. George Padmore Boys Academy. And then for me to go to Africa after a few months after that launch, and of course I always knew that George Padmore was a great advisor to Kwame Nkrumah, first president of Ghana, but did not know that he was that loved and respected and honored. There's a George Padmore Library in Ghana. There's a George Padmore Research Institute in Ghana. And there's a George Padmore Preparatory School in Ghana. And we will be making some links with them out there. We already connected with the W.E.B. Du Bois Museum, where I went, and it was magnificent, magnificent, magnificent. But George Padmore, the most famous Trinidadian in Ghana, probably in all of West Africa. because he was, George Padmore from Trinidad, he was an architect of African independence. And just an interesting tidbit of information, many of you would remember a brother, he was an activist in the community called Mackey. Many of you would remember Mackey. Mackey would have passed away, can't remember exactly when, but maybe about 10 years ago, or within the last 10 years. But Mackey, whose real name was MacDonald Padmore, also used to call him Father, Mackey's uncle, this is a really strange story. Mackey's uncle's name was George Padmore. All right? MacDonald Padmore, yeah, Mackey, activist, brother in the community from years ago, many of you remember. His uncle's name was George Padmore. George Padmore's real name was Malcolm Nurse. And because, again, you know how it is when you're African and influential on that level and you're challenging the system, they had him down as a communist, just like CLR James, a socialist. And back then they had a communist watch list. It was CLR James who introduced George Padmore to Kwame Nkrumah at the 5th Pan-African Congress in Manchester in the year 1945. And CLR James asked George Padmore, help out this brother because he's going to go far. That was 1945. And then within 12 years, he was the leader of the first independent African nation in the New World, breaking out of colonialism. But anyway, Mackey's uncle's name was George Padmore. And George Padmore's original name, well, when I say original name, I say that in quotes, of course, but his original name was Malcolm Nurse. And when the authorities had Malcolm Nurse under the microscope, spying on him, plotting against him, trying to bring him down, he took the identity of his friend, George Padmore. And so Malcolm Nurse took on the name George Padmore because Malcolm Nurse, the name Malcolm Nurse, was under the radar. And of course, today, I mean, you tell our brothers and sisters in Africa that, they'll say, what? What do you say? You tell many Trinidadians that, they'll say, what? You tell many Trinidadians that there was a great man named George Padmore who was an architect of independence in Africa. They say, who was George Padmore? Oh, beloved. But Trinidad and Tobago produced those three pillars of Pan-Africanism, starting with Henry Sylvester Williams, who convened the world's first Pan-African Congress in the year 1900 in London, England, where there were delegates from 30 different countries, including W.E.B. Du Bois, the first black PhD and the first black sociologist. It was a Trinidadian. Listen, this is before internet, before social media, before television. A Trinidadian. Henry Sylvester Williams hosted the world's first Pan-African Congress in the year 1900. Think about how he was able to do that. No broadcast radio where you could switch on in one country and hear it in another country. No TV, no internet, no social media, but they were networking, traveling to different countries, meeting the right people, writing letters, and planning, listen, in the year 1900, we're going to have a conference. And we're going to have it in England. Can't even take a plane to get there. You have to take a ship. And Henry Sylvester Williams hosted delegates from 30 different countries. And that was the first Pan-African Congress. And George Padmore attended the fifth Pan-African Congress. That was 45 years later, beloved. 45 years later. Kwame Nkrumah attended that one and met George Padmore there. It was introduced to him by C.L.R. James. Now that's a real national hero. And you know, they broke down Henry Sylvester Williams' home the other day. Oh, Lord have mercy. So this morning, beloved, from 10 o'clock, we have a motivational session for our young men. And even though 2 weeks ago we had so much content, 2 weeks ago when we did that first session, which was actually session number 4 in cycle number 2, so far we have completed 16 hour-and-a-half sessions with the boys of the George Padmore Academy at the Kwame Ture Center, Saturday mornings from 10 to 11:30. Bring out the young men, 17 years and under. Bring them out, enroll them, get them to be part of these classes. And some of these young men are so incredible. We have some youth, some of the younger ones who... There's one little brother. His name is David. It's like that youth knows everything. He's about 7 years old. Anything you ask him, anything, he has an answer for. And it's like, I don't know. And there are some others that the brains of these young men so sharp and being developed even further. And on top of that, they're learning self-defense, martial arts, discipline, self-awareness. And on top of that, they're learning agriculture, growing their own food, how to plant crops and harvest food and become independent. And they're learning about starting their own businesses, saving their money, pooling their resources together. And they're learning all of this powerful motivational information. And 2 weeks ago, we had a session. Of course, last week we had the visit from the king. 2 weeks ago, we had the session, and we had to divide the content into two. So this morning, we're going into the key points from some of those magnificent, very expensive pieces of literature, such as Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, The Power of Positive Thinking by Norman Vincent Peale, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey, The Science of How to Get Rich, Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert T. Kiyosaki, Richest Man in Babylon. All of those books those are information from Les Brown, Anthony Robbins. Those books that when those writers have their seminars, a ticket to attend the seminars, sometimes as much as $1,000 US, $6,000 US to hear a man speak for 1 hour. Sometimes those major corporations will spend $1 million in training, getting ideas from these philosophers. And we're taking all of that content, condensing it, repackaging it for our youth to increase their degrees of thinking, boost their ambition. Let them see themselves as future achievers, those who will accomplish great things and create change in this society in a positive way. Help us to reach the youth. I mean, we appreciate everyone saying, great job, keep it up. That's what the country needs. We appreciate all of that. But no, we have to send the young men out. Encourage them to bring them out. Support the organization. You know, let me tell you something. I had a conversation with a gentleman in the community, and I went away feeling kind of shocked. Because he's telling me, he said, of course you're getting funding from the government. You must be getting funding. I say, brother, we're independent. God, come on, you must be. Look all that, all you're doing there. You must be getting funding from the government every month. And it's like he's arguing with me. There are people who just take for granted that everything that you need just falls out of the sky. But it is a struggle, beloved. It's a struggle, and it's not an occasional struggle. It's a daily struggle where hour after hour after hour after hour, you have to keep fighting and working and moving and developing and planning while you have something going on today or tomorrow or day after. At the same time, you're planning for something next week. Black History Month in Trinidad and Tobago is November. And we are having our official launch of Black History Month next week, Sunday, November the 6th. And I will be featuring video images as well as pictures from my trip to Africa. And I'm going to show you images and footage from the slave dungeons where our ancestors were kidnapped, stored, warehoused, and shipped out to Trinidad and Tobago, Barbados, Jamaica, St. Vincent, St. Lucia, St. Kitts, Grenada, Guyana, Antigua, Dominica, and everywhere else in between. Next week, Sunday, we're going to be dealing with that. I don't want you to miss that. It is a chilling, shocking, and horrifying experience and narrative. We literally have a video tour for you. I don't want you to miss that. And we want to, in our consciousness, recreate that experience. Now, when you see those images of those slave dungeons, beloved, we're going to be right back. Stay with us.
The views expressed are not necessarily the views of the management of the Street 919 FM.
You've got bills to pay, and so do we. Let's go pay some bills on the Street 919 FM.
91.9 Bago Bashment presents On Board the Embassy Tobago Carnival Boat Ride Week.
Tobago Carnival Boat Ride Weekend.
Boarding at the Pigeon Point Jetty. Kicking things off from the 24th to the 30th of October. Walk with your food and coolers. Come experience October 24th. Pan on the boat. October 25th. ISO on the boat. October 26th. Chutney on the boat. Tickets are $200. Available at islandetickets.com or 91.9 FM Tobago. The party continues October 27th. Water on the boat. October 28th. Power Soca. October 29th. Groovy on the boat.
October 30th.
Juve on the boat. Tickets are $200. Available at DylanEtickets.com or 91.9 FM Tobago. For tickets, call 814723-363-4030 or 368-1932 or check us out on Facebook at Embassy Cruises for bookings or email at embassycruises@gmail.com. Tobago Carnival Ride Weekend.
Want to furnish your home in style? Stylus Furniture makes this possible. Shop using our affordable layaway options to purchase any of our modern sectionals, dining, living room, or bedroom sets, and receive a dinner voucher for two at Atelier's Restaurant and Lounge. For further information, contact us at 652-2542, 652-2688, and 790-1202. You can also visit any of our branches located at 101 Crackness Village, Princestown, and 51 Rushwood Street in San Fernando. Stylus Furniture, for the style in you.
Team Colors of We and Create a Smile Foundation presents Cheers to Life. Cheers to Life, a charitable event. October 29th, Bear Top Bar, formerly Mari's Bar, on Eastern Main Road, opposite Wassa. Advance tickets cost $40 and 2 non-perishable items, or $50 by the door. Music by top DJs, live performances by Snakey, Eddie Charles, RKG,
she tell me she have nobody, but she says she will love,
and many more. For ticket information, call 296-4493 or 277-8740 or at the Bear Top Bar. This event is sponsored by K2K, Alarm and Sound, Pepe's Marketing, Street 919 FM, Everslick Auto Care, Manipul Branding, One Shot Photography, Bear Top Bar. Help make happiness a gift this Christmas, October 29th. Cheers to Life, the charitable event.
Join us Carnival Sunday as we celebrate a festival of novelty. The newest carnival at the newest hotel, Sweet Paradise. At Confident and Sweet Hotel, we welcome none other than the Vi Queen of Soca, Bayan Lion. Alongside the big man of the business, Neil Iwacho. Get ready to tingle there with Nyla Blackman and Mikhail Tesha. A luxe, all-inclusive brunch experience. Tickets available at RLEtickets.com and Confident of Sweets. Instagram at Confident PT for more information. Carnival Sunday, we'll be at Sweet Paradise.
91.9 is counting down 91 days of Christmas. Yes, 91 days of Christmas. It's karaoke, prizes to be won, giveaways. It's the 91 days of Christmas on the street. 919 FM.
I could sing a good serenade. Oh, it's Christmas.
Blessings in the wonderful name of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. You are invited to listen to the Final Hour broadcast heard every Monday from 12 midnight to 5 a.m. in the morning on the street 919 FM radio. Hear my mom, Pastor Helen Garcia, and myself, Pastor Valentine Garcia Jr., preach the word of God to the elderly, youth, and children. We can be contacted at 629-0113 or 623-8444. The church is located at 26 Prince Street in Port of Spain. We look forward to you joining us. God bless you.
As my life I lay it on the altar, as my life.
This steel pan
The only musical instrument invented in the 20th century is a reflection of the perseverance and innovativeness of the people of Trinidad and Tobago, which have always been central to our development as a nation. And the steel pan story epitomizes this, carved out of life and struggle and determination, rising out of the spirit of the African drum. The steel pan stands today as evidence of innovativeness, creativity, and passion for life integral to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. My name is Kwesi Paul. Join me each and every Sunday from 9 p.m. to 12 midnight on the street 91.9 FM.
Looking for a safe and relaxed professional massage therapist and nutritionist? Look no further. Nature's Touch with Empress Judy and Associates offers a natural approach to better health. Treat yourself to a professional massage therapy and nutrition advice in a safe and relaxed atmosphere. Rejuvenate your body, mind, and soul at Nature's Touch Therapy. For an appointment, please call or WhatsApp 1-868-398-8282. or visit our Facebook page. Remember, your health is our responsibility at Nature's Touch.
Share the live. Share the live. The Street 919 FM on Facebook and Instagram. Share the live. Iowa George on Instagram. Share the live. Iowa TV and Street TV on YouTube. Share the live. The Street 919 FM.
Demanded. Brotherhood is obligatory.
Black man get up, black man stand up, black man you better listen.
So there's a need for brotherhood.
Black man get up, black man stand up, black man you better listen. Black man get up, black man stand up, black man you better listen.
Brotherhood is demanded.
Black man get up, black man stand up, black man you better listen.
Brotherhood is required. Brotherhood is demanded. Brotherhood is obligatory. Brotherhood is essential, it is urgent, and it is compulsory. But the time demands brotherhood. Whenever the dominant white society fears for its economic future, racial tensions are always aggravated. The aim of Almighty God is to bring the black man and woman together. The aim of Almighty God is that we, no matter how divided we have been in the past, must experience unity in order to gain the success that we seek and the progress that we desire. There is no way that a divided people can build a future. Brotherhood is required. Brotherhood is demanded. So there's a need for brotherhood. But if you walk the earth proud and arrogant, you never learn your lesson because you think you already know. And how in the hell could you know and be in the shape that that we're in. How can there be any brotherhood if there's not even the honoring of a word?
Black man, get up. Black man, stand up. Black man, you better listen. Black man, get up. Black man, stand up. Black man, you better listen. Black man, get up. Black man, stand up. Black man, you better listen.
But the Quran and the Bible bear witness that the heavens and the earth were created with truth.
Black man, stand up. Black man, you better listen.
Brotherhood is required. Brotherhood is demanded. Brotherhood is obligatory. Brotherhood is essential. It is urgent and it is compulsory. I feel that every man that wants to speak should have the right. And if you think you know it better, get on up and get on and do the job. But if you don't know what to do, and all your mouth is able to do is condemn and criticize, but you have no works to show the rightness of your philosophical adherence, then maybe you should rethink your position.
Welcome back and welcome to the second hour of the Black Agenda here on the Street 919 FM. I am Brother David Muhammad. We're going up to 9 o'clock, beloved. And remember, November in Trinidad and Tobago is Black History Month. Okay? It was initiated by three great African sisters. Sister Asha Kambon, Dr. Asha Kambon, the wife of Brother Kafra Kambon, Sister Pat McLeod, who is the wife of that great black businessman in this country, I.T. McLeod, and also Sister Maureen Thompson, who is, trust me, beloved, one of the most, I'm going to use this word in quotes, one of the most dangerous researchers in this country. There have been bits and pieces of information that you would have heard me share over the years came from that sister on like ownership of companies, interlocking directorates, the millions and millions and millions that were forgiven by African politicians of non-African business persons, while in the same breath they turn around and seize African people's property. All of that information from that beloved sister, Sister Maureen Thompson. So those three sisters established November as Black History Month in the late 1980s because, of course, February, which is traditionally Black History Month in America and some other parts of the Caribbean, is seen as largely a month that is consumed by carnival celebrations. So they established November. We are having our launch, our official launch of Black History Month next week, Sunday, which is November the 6th, 11 a.m. at the Kwame Ture Center. And I'm going to be showing footage from my recent trip to Africa and my visit to the slave dungeons. It's a painful, painful watch, but it's essential for us to know this and to see this. So, beloved family, next week, Sunday morning, 11 o'clock at the Kwame Ture Center. Today, we're continuing with the attention on our youth. George Padmore Boys Academy. 10 o'clock this morning, from 10 to 11:30, and we're doing that motivational session. Listen, we're trying to get our young brothers to think big. So this morning we're going over those key points from all of those great pieces of literature. Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Richest Man in Babylon, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, The Power of Positive Thinking, Think and Grow Rich. And we're condensing it. Many of us didn't have an opportunity to listen to those kinds of ideas when we were 10 and 11 and 12 and 13 years old. So I'm appealing to you to help us help our youth. And what help am I asking for? Bring them. That's what I'm asking you for primarily. Bring them out. Let's network with them. Let's organize them. Let's create a fraternity of our young men from across different communities. You know, one of the things that was looked at, of course, I have to talk about the new Prime Minister of England, right? And I did a session online, 800 participants in England. This was Tuesday gone. I'm doing another one on Sunday, again based in England. But it's called the Hidden Truth series. Our beloved brother Andrew Muhammad out there in the United Kingdom. So he did this session, and we're talking about the new Prime Minister. Now, I'm making a point here because someone was highlighting that 70%, listen to this, 70% of the government, now remember it's mainly a white government, mainly white. In fact, there are just over 600 members of parliament in England. I think the Conservative Party right now has about 360 of them. And also that 360, at least 290 are white, okay? So the new Prime Minister, England now has their first Indian Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak. But one analysis was highlighting the fact that 70% of the members of government, the cabinet members, 70% went to private schools, and only 30% went to the public schools. And they were analyzing that under that system, when you go to a private school, you grow up within the framework of a kind of fraternity. So that the people who go to the private schools end up networking with each other. And they create these fraternities. One becomes a judge. One becomes a senior lawyer, attorney. One is a professor at a university. Another one is the chief of police. Another one is a member of parliament. Another one becomes a major business owner. Another one becomes the CEO of a bank or a chain of banks. And they stay in touch with each other, and they have a culture of empowerment of each other. And they were explaining in this report that that's how the private school system works. So even though I think the figure was something like only 8% of people in the country go to private schools, 70% of the people in government had attended private schools. And they were tracing how these kinds of networks create empowerment. Now, this is one of our visions for the George Padmore Boys Academy, that we have all of these young men between the ages of 5 years old to 17 years old. And we teach and train and educate and prepare them with various life skills, but also that they grow as a fraternity, as a network. So slowly but surely, as they begin to become more educated and more productive, then eventually more influential, then eventually power brokers within society, that they can help empower each other. Now, the same way that is how the private school system works in England, as this report was analyzing. In Trinidad and Tobago, you have that same kind of thing, but mainly by ethnicity. So there are ethnic groups in the society who have that kind of fraternal arrangement with each other, that they will go beyond the call to ensure that they open up doorways and avenues for one another to get into access of avenues of influence. This is what is missing among our people. Because our people are more likely to fight against each other if they support two different political parties. Our people are less likely to even associate with one another if they are from different social classes or have different social class backgrounds. And our people are unlikely to work together if they're not of the same religion. So all of these are artificial barriers that prevent us from having access to real success. And if we can teach and train a young generation to abandon all of those artificial barriers and differences, of which it benefits others for us to have between us, it's like we're doing a favor for our enemies by thinking the way that we do. And I go back to the holy month of Ramadan this year, which is our best Ramadan, because it was our intention, and we did it for most of the days, to feed our people every day. Every day. So it was 4 weeks for Ramadan. In week 1 and week 4, we had food every single day. And on Eid, we invited in the whole community. We had over 200 people giving food. So for weeks 2 and 3, we prepared food on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And for week 1 and 4, we prepared food every day. Now, the amount of guests that we had for Ramadan, every day around 6:20, we had a meal together. And we had people from probably all the different political parties, all different religions. We had a group of Rastafarian brothers coming in there. We had Muslims of different persuasions, Christians of different persuasions. We had African people from PNM, UNC, NNV, PDP, the Watson Duke Party, anyone that we can think of. Our people, trade unionists, activists, you name it. We're African. We're coming together to settle our differences around the meal, and we pray together. But the more, you see, us in this old dying out generation where we still carrying so many of the slave masters' demons in our spirit, see this new generation coming up? We teach, train, and prepare them properly. Man, I'm telling you, it's going to be a powerful generation coming up. Not like how we were, voluntarily making ourselves second-class citizens in our own land. Hell no. The way that these youth are thinking, and I'm saying to you, help us to help them, bring them out. So we're going up to the first week in December for this cycle 2 of the George Padmore Boys Academy, and then we would resume in either the first or second week in January. Okay? The first cycle went from the end of May. We started first session was second week in June after we launched, and then we went up to, I think it was August. And then we actually resumed on Republic Day. It was a public holiday, September 24th. We're about to go into November. So going up to the first week of December. And then continuing in January 2023. All right. So, next week, Saturday, as we said, next week Sunday, our opening of Black History Month, November 2022, and we already have some appointments in some of the different secondary schools. We have 3 confirmed so far. And then, of course, we also have our schools visiting the Kwame Ture Center for the tours. And I enjoy those so much. So last year, I remember it was in the middle of the pandemic. Things were just easing up. But last year we had the Success Laventille School. They came across in 3 different groups. We had about 3 groups of about 50 children each. And they came, did one presentation, then the next set came, we did the second presentation, then the third set came, we did another presentation. And that was, because of the COVID restrictions and all that, they didn't want to bring across everyone in one. But it went really well. I think this year we'll have much more freedom and flexibility to have those sessions, those tours. But come on, people. Let's support. All right. So let me open up the phone lines. I wanted to talk a bit about the Great Reset. So, and of course, so the Prime Minister, congratulations to new Prime Minister of England. And interestingly, just one last thing, there's this caller to the radio station out there, and it's circulated so far and wide. It's been on all the social media platforms, even on Comedy Central. Trevor Noah spoke about it. I was actually listening to that radio station live at the time when that caller called in. A caller called in and said, but Rishi Sunak is not British. And then he was asked, well, what do you mean he's not British? He was born in England. And then the caller said, but I, as a white Englishman, cannot just go to Pakistan and become the prime minister there because I was born there. And then that ended up going down a whole rabbit hole. And of course, it was played over so many times. The clip was shared so many times. People were commenting on it and saying it's a sign of racism still existing over there. But interestingly, and the same thing happened with Donald Trump. When Barack Obama became the president of the United States, Donald Trump came up with this theory that he's not American. And interestingly, the white man who was going up against him, John McCain, was not born in America. John McCain was actually born in Panama. But it didn't matter because he was white. Barack Obama, who was born in the United States of America, was still considered not to be American. Just like Rishi Sunak, who was born in England. And remember, they're calling him the first Indian prime minister. He wasn't born in India, nor were his parents born in India. His parents were born in Africa. Yes, in Kenya. And interestingly, a lot of the Indian politicians in England, a lot of their parents were born in Africa, in Kenya or Uganda, with some of the indentureship schemes over there. His grandparents were born in India. But the same person said he doesn't love England in the same way that Boris Johnson does. Interestingly, Boris Johnson, the last prime minister, minus the lady who was there for 44 days, Boris Johnson was not born in England. Boris Johnson was born in New York, but he's white. So he's still considered more English than Rishi Sunak, who was born in England, just like they didn't consider Barack Obama to be American because he was black. It's deep. And in that whole Republican Party, you had all of those contradictions. Mitt Romney's father was born in Mexico. Jeb Bush's wife was born in Mexico. Donald Trump's either his father or grandmother born in Scotland or Germany. So you have all of these immigrant connections, but when they are white, they claim the country and could erase their immigrant status. But when they're black, they're defined by their immigrant status. It's a hell of a thing. All right, so let me open up the phone lines now. 342-0081 and 466-5391. Caller, good morning. Are you there?
Assalamu alaikum. Today is Salim.
Walaikum salam.
Yeah, my brother. It's Elmina's Castle, Slave Dungeon in Ghana.
Yes,
that's
sir.
The name. They have a skull and the bone, the X, right over the door of the castle. But anyway, I want to say something. You know, I went with a niece of mine to carry a shower curtain for one of our cousins that is getting having a baby. And when I went with her, I shake my head. You know what I remember? As a little fella growing up long ago, when a girl had a child or a woman had a child, and they were having a christening, they used to pass a hat, and everybody used to put money in that hat, and they go to the parents of that child, and that was a saving for that child. Today, we have gone to Europe. We always go to Europe and pick up Europe nasty habit and ways, you know. Instead of putting that money in the envelope and going to the parents, we go in now and go into the same 1%. You understand? So they are getting the money that they're supposed to give to the child. So at the end of the day, the child get nothing. The 1% collect. We don't think, Brother David. And, you know, like I was talking to a guy yesterday, we was talking, it's a scary thing to be conscious, you know. Because when you're conscious, and people who are not conscious, it makes you feel like something wrong with you, you know. It's real scary. This morning, today, they're having it in South Africa, the Zulu King. You know about it?
The Zulu King.
Yeah, today they inaugurated him today in South Africa. Anyway,
go on.
Yes. Anyway, but David, you know, I was listening to the news there, and I see that the British people has opened up for Guyanese to come to London for 6 months without getting a visa and this sort of thing. And I laugh. You know what I laugh for? Guyana have oil. They have money. They did the same exact thing in Trinidad. In the 70s, you couldn't get a visa to go to the United States like that. You get a year, you get a 6 months visa to go to America. But when the oil price went up and we had money in Trinidad, you know what they did? They opened up and started to give you 10 years multiple indefinite visa. 10 years. Trinidad was conscious of what is going on. The money that they get go right back. So we should leave this morning and go to Miami and shop. Come back this evening. Or they take back all the money, you understand, that they give. The psychology they use on us, and we don't think, you understand, what they are doing. I heard some Guyanese say, what is behind this? Because you couldn't get visa all the time to go. But all of a sudden, they come and offend you visa to travel. But anyway, it's not easy. All people have to think a lot. We have to think a lot because these people are always thinking for us. Actually, right now, they're up in space. They're looking for somewhere up there to build itself a new world. That's why they're showing this one here. So when they go up there, because they have everything planted already, you know, all the trees and the seeds, they have it, you know, on the wrong region. And before I go, I want to say, your food is your medicine. Your food is your medicine. And if you use your food as your medicine, you don't have to go to the drugstore. I went to a guy some time ago. He have a rejuvenating center in Arima. Somebody had told me about it when I went up there. And you know, he said, drugs is a mind thing. He said that you play with your mind with drugs. You understand? And when you think about it, the doctor sign a prescription for you. He don't know that tablet that he's giving you is going to work. They tell me the tablet is for X or Y, and he give you it. He say, come back in 2 weeks. He don't give you a next one. You never try it out. So it's a mind thing. So your food, and you grow your food, and you plant your food. You know what you eat. And your seeds, you save your seeds. because you can't get seeds to buy like that again because they patent in the seeds. And if you're in America, if you plant certain things, you will get a lockup for the seed. So you have to plant your food and no seed. And another thing, remember, I had a kidney problem. And I went to the hospital. I have a tablet called Buscopan some years ago. And for the problem, my mother told me, listen, when I came back home, she gave me a white bachelor button. She said, drink that. And love wine. Wherever I drank it. And I went to pee. And I hear pling, pling, pling. Cheese fly out. I took it back to the hospital. The doctor said it was uric acid. You understand? So the herbs around us is to clean us and take care of us. And when you use these things, you won't have the cause to go to the doctor or go to the drugstore. But they will have a good day.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Caller, good morning. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, my brother.
Good morning to you.
Made a statement about someone said watch the stuff you buy, cheap stuff.
Yes. They said beware of low prices.
Right. There's a government ad as well, also making that same statement, if I'm not mistaken.
And what particularly was it about? Pharmaceuticals?
Well, it varies because I'm trying to make a point where that has some merit and a great merit. And
so are you calling in to defend an ad that says beware of low prices rather than putting an ad out there to say beware of high prices?
I'm calling to defend consumers.
Right. Okay, good, great.
Okay. So, we have a large Asian influx. And I am a smoker. West Indian Tobacco is the only company at one time more or less controlled the cigarette industry. And because of our Asian invasion and invasion in supermarket industries, and they put supermarkets where we afraid to put one, right? And they hire a SRP that working for somebody in the police station and they get here work in my community. So let me move on. And they start selling cigarette at a cheaper price. No brand, whatever. The government decided that here we're going on. I have to put a warning on cigarette pack. So I went to the shop sometime and here a salesperson of one of those products saying, oh, the government had, and the government this. And I want to know what, but I asked the question, what do you all are making this? What did the government do? Nobody responded. And they get to realize, came home, turned on my telly and saw the minister say, never go on. On all cigarette pack has to have a warning how dangerous cigarette is and ting. The brand that they were selling doesn't have that. And because of that, because it's, I wouldn't consider it illegally import, but if you understand my point, we have a brand, we have people that are importing stuff, even Magnum. I could send you an ad where the Jamaican government, police and customs did a bust down on Asian, down to engine oil for your motor car. That just how you say there's a generic, and there is one that is no good, and there is one that is just as good as the original thing. And the Chinese is making one that ain't no good at all. So the reason for that, some of those ads, is to identify the consumer that here we're going on. Be careful of the cheap thing. Even down to still. Right? Everybody have a waka. Still is the number one selling waka in Trinidad and Tobago. Still produces that oil. If you go around now, you see still in all them little Chinese places, oil cheap. It marks still and all if you look sharp. If you look at the spelling, it's totally different. The color is the same thing, the label printing almost look. If you understand what I'm saying, my brother?
Yes.
Right. So the reason for that is to identify that to the consumer, be careful of what you purchase.
Right.
Because of the cheapness side, the quality, because of the customer doing the work or the custom taking a bribe. Because some of these tobacco products, if you look on the website, a man sit down in India or somewhere in Pakistan and cut up that on a board and hand roll.
Right, right. So I agree.
Right, dangerous. That is
dangerous. I agree. But I would have preferred to hear an ad coming out from Consumer Affairs cautioning the consumer to check the quality of the product as opposed to the price. Because what if the price is low and the quality is good? I'll give you an example. Minister Farrakhan tells us, as black people going into business, in our community, with our people, to have 2 criteria for your business for success. Very high quality, but low prices, as low as possible to still make a profit. And he said with that combination, we're not only empowering ourselves financially, but we're also at the same time empowering the community. High quality, low prices. So you cannot beat that combination. So I would have preferred for them to say, well, look out for the quality, check the quality. Whether it's this identification mark or that identification mark, or whether it's the expiry date or the barcode, whatever it is, check that. But to warn the public about low prices, what if it's a good product? And the people who are marketing it are not greedy, blood-sucking, money-hungry, economic stranglers like some people who are in business in Trinidad. So just because the price is low, it does not mean that the product is not good. But I get the point. I appreciate it. Caller, good morning.
Oh, very good morning. Very good morning.
Good morning, my sister.
Consumer affairs. The question is, where are they, period? Because all of what you're saying here is what consumer affairs should be doing, checking prices, checking quality. Consumer affairs, in my book, is a toothless dog that just bark there. They do nothing to check, look out for the people who are purchasing. But where you speak of that place in Africa,
the slave dungeons. Yeah.
The slave dungeons. That's a terrible place. I've heard.
Yeah.
They say people go there and they break down in tears.
Mm-hmm.
That energy that is there, the spirits that are there. People break down in tears, people fall on the ground and get manifestations and all sorts of things. That is a very powerful place.
Yep.
Bring it to the fore. That is very good.
And we filmed a documentary there,
Very.
And
very good, very good. Bring it to the fore. Because you see, from that, people might just start to begin that. How can you tell me, forget slavery that happened long ago? How can you tell me that? That kind of trauma doesn't leave you. Generations and generations, that type of trauma wouldn't leave you. So that is very good that you bring it to the fore. And all success to the Boys Academy.
Oh, yes.
All success, but we have to lend a hand. We have to ensure the success. That's what we have to do. Oh, Brother David, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Yes.
Bye.
Caller, good morning.
Good morning to you, Brother David.
Good morning, sir.
Our ancestors, they were the slaves. You see, they take the chains off the body.
Put it on the minds.
Right? But what I'm saying is that our ancestors, they were slaves. We are free people right now, and our freedom doesn't look too good. Because right now, America is sending guns like that into the Caribbean. Throughout the whole Caribbean, they are shipping guns right now. Having the black against black on crime right now. This is what we're witnessing in the youth. And it started since 1990, Brother David, actually right now it's 32 years. We have this silent war going on between ourselves, just massacring and bloodshedding, bloodletting within the communities, African communities, Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago. Now, St. Lucia, you're getting a little thing. Barbados, you're getting a little thing. You're showing you right now. These guns is prevalent right now. We have to make sure that we do not accept and continue. We must strike it down as fast as possible, Brother David. Now, I would like to say, I always have a little topic on the African Union. Well, the last 40 years, I wonder what it could really, the report book for the last 40 years, these leaders, because some of them in the 70s, some in the 80s, you was watching you, Brother David, and within real colonial times when the Frenchmen and the English and the Spaniards, all of them, hold on to Africa. Continue with the milking and still sure they're enjoying the Africa still, because we still have the young prevalent in Africa doing the same thing just as we're doing down here on a lighter scale, but there's a heavier scale, and they have to try what the African Union to socialize all that, make sure that we do not get caught up. In 2023 will be dreaded and dread. 2024 more dread. If you was asking me, Brother David, what will we be doing to feed ourselves? Hold up the idea of feeding ourselves food. We can't fight war without food. You was saying it. I was settlement because they want some meeting. So what I would say, our African Union, get itself together and start the process of making Africa kingdom that it's supposed to be. Thank you very much, brother.
Thank you, my brother. And I have to highlight something here from a concerned parent. Now, of course, a lot of people send through concerns, but you can't raise everything. But this here, to me, sounds kind of urgent. A concerned parent of a student at the St. George's College. You should all be familiar with the St. George's College in Barataria there. Says the student population has been at home for approximately 3 weeks. This is because of damages to the roof and ceiling infrastructure, which was caused by the inclement weather recently. Plans were made by the Ministry of Education to relocate the school on a temporary basis to the Valsayn UTT campus. However, a recent correspondence now states that the staff has not been granted access to report to the Valsayn UTT campus. The parent says, my heart goes out to the Form 5 and Upper 6 students who are carded to write exams early next year. Please God. So as a parent, I'm pleading with the personnel at the Ministry of Education, at UTT, to hasten their efforts so that all the staff and students could access the Valsayn UTT campus compound for the benefit of the children. Now, I'm kind of surprised that that wasn't in the mainstream media over the last 3 weeks or so. Maybe 1 week would pass, but 3 weeks, terrible. You have so many isolated cases like this from time to time taking place across the country, so I really hope that the relevant authorities could hear that. Caller, good morning.
I want to say something.
Yes.
In Indonesia, 160-something children have died from a cough syrup. In Gambia, 60-something children have died from a cough syrup. They trace that one back to India, some factory in India producing this contaminated syrup. So yesterday I called my son, because my son has two little babies there, and I informed him, you have to be aware of what you're giving your children, and because there's also something in America, so a lot of children getting sick also. You understand? So I told him, I say, you have some more, clean them out. Once you keep them clean out, you understand? You won't have anything within them, you understand? Something them. And a beautiful thing to use is onion, Brother David. You get an onion when they come, cut it up, put it in a mug with hot water, draw it, and sip it. It runs parasites out of your system. The same thing that I was saying about earlier one, the Lavine. A post office, you was passing. She seemed to be outside, but she live in here. She live in Mills. And she saw me picking the Lavine. They don't know all about certain things as well. I know she said, you're picking liver juice. So I know it's for the kidney. But she said, call it liver juice. So it means that when we use herbs, it does so many things to our system and clean it. We don't even know until they go to the doctor and they take a check and they say everything is all right. It means that the system is clean and using the right things. Herbs, fruits and vegetables. You have no problem in this food. And you have to be careful of what you buy in the market and eating also. Because they give you a lot of food with other chemicals. You see the consumer division that they're talking about here? Dr. Campbell Rice was the person in charge of them at one time when he was up in the back of a camp up there. I bought a pair of shoes from a store in San Fernando, and it didn't last me about a few days. I took it to them, they refused to change, and I took it to half there. It took me about 2 or 3 years before she could get that change. You know what she told me? They don't have the laws to deal with these people. So you actually have to go and begging them to change it because there's no laws. But I think now that they have laws, they change it. So the people have to know their rights. Because these people, I mean, you go to them and you buy something and they tell you that they're not changing it.
That is so illegal. Because I remember seeing. I remember seeing on a pair of shoes that No Retreat. That was around the time when they had this movie out in the cinema, No Retreat, No Surrender. It was like a business vision of that no exchange, no refund. So once you buy it, it could fall to pieces as soon as you exit the door. No exchange, no refund. And they standing on that. And they would hire one of us who were big and strong to stand in the doorway, look upset and aggressive, to enforce those unjust policies. But I mean, we're maturing as a society, and so they can't put no exchange, no refund on anything like that anymore. Caller, are you there?
Yeah, morning. Morning, brother.
Morning, sir.
Yeah, what's up? Morning to your listeners, morning to your viewers, morning to everyone. Trinidad and Tobago. Short contribution. By reason, I really like what you spoke to this morning, Brother David. I turn on in time car working up. Right. And I used to ask my brethren and them, my hustler brethren, you know what I'm talking about now. But look at LC Kuro, look at Aranguez, they don't come together and this gap building. How come nobody never come together and gap building? Why everything has to stay in this kind of streets kind of vibes? If you understand. And that's what plaguing us. That, temporary aggrandizement, the look, how you will look, how you're looking, that's what plaguing us. But, Brother David, he's the backbone of this economy. He's the backbone of any economy anyway, if you understand what I'm saying. And we have that ability. I appreciate the fact that you keep pressing to see if you can get that unity. But I don't think the unity lies in the pursuit of a strong economy. I think the unity lies within the pursuit of higher tenets and principles, because by reason that Brother Mansa Musa traveled from where he left to where he went, sharing goal, and on the way back, share goal, and it bust the economy. It says to me that the economy is a farce. The economy itself, in terms of the acquisition of wealth, really is the destruction of it itself. I think the economy is supposed to be used for the development and the pursuit of human survival and what we could do to expand in terms of to expand our, how to put it, boy, to expand what we give to the universe and give back to the world, and what we do to progenate and help that progenation produce without being exploitative, if you understand what I'm saying. So I don't think the unity will come based on let us unite to have a good economy. That's supposed, like we're supposed to have a more refined reason to pursue, and apparently like economy will fall into it. Because in closing, that's what you spoke about, the fraternity. It's not the pursuit of economic wealth that have them together, you know, is the fact that, hey, we bright, you could do this. And I said that in my family too. But they made it deep, you know. I say, look at me, I'm a crane operator, you're a construction worker, this one is good with administration, this one at the BSc. We have a whole unit here, but that just fly over everybody's head, if you understand. And I don't know what it is with us black people that we don't see ourselves as a gestalt, as a whole, where we could just unite under our brotherhood, but not to pursue the money, that way the bacchanals be, but to pursue our development. I think it certainly needs to change from the pursuit of the economy to the pursuit of the development and the sustenance of ourselves. Thank you, Brother David.
Right. Thank you. But it goes back to what I was saying at the very beginning. Let's please understand that point, that we all identify a solution by saying that the other idea is not going to work, but this idea will. Then someone else says, well, this idea will, but that idea won't. And again, the economists will say the wealth has to be equally distributed. The priest will say everyone has to pray more. The school teacher will say we all need to get education. The police officer will say we all have to obey the law. The doctor will say, or the health specialist, need to stop eating all that fried chicken and junk food. And everyone will argue from a point of view while dismissing other points of view, when the real solution lies in a holistic approach that entails all of the ideas. And this is a major impediment against us solving the problems, because a lot of what is challenging us today requires a multi-layered strategic approach of unity between all of the different stakeholders and interest groups. That's where we're falling short, because we divert our attention away from the problem onto someone else who's proposing a solution. So if I am of one persuasion and someone else is of another persuasion, but both of us are proposing a better way, he ends up becoming my enemy, and I end up becoming his enemy, when the real problem is remaining unaddressed. So it's almost like we have to measure the way that we propose all of these ideas and strategies and techniques to come to some kind of collective solution, because we're focusing too much on each other. So one political party sees the other political party as the enemy, rather than the criminals being the enemy. One spiritual teacher from one religion sees another spiritual teacher from another religion as the enemy, instead of the criminals being the enemy. And again, one person or group of people who are looking for funding for their crime plan are seeing another group of people who are looking for funding for their crime plan as the enemy, when it's the criminals who are the enemy. And we're losing that coordinated approach. So, next week, Sunday, 11 o'clock in the morning at the Kwame Ture Center, grand opening of Black History Month, and we're going to be going through the footage of the slave dungeons in Ghana. Stay tuned to the Street 919 FM. May Allah bless you. Assalamu alaikum.
The views expressed are not necessarily the views of the management of the Street 919 FM.
Want to furnish your home in style? Stylus Furniture makes this possible. Shop using our affordable layaway options to purchase any of our modern sectionals, dining, living room, or bedroom sets, and receive a dinner voucher for two at Atelier's Restaurant and Lounge. For further information, contact us at 652-2542, 652-2688, and 790-1202. You can also visit any of our branches located at 101 Crackness Village, Princestown, and 51 Rushwood Street in San Fernando. Stylus Furniture, for the style in you.